Okay, and the end of it. So we have Napoleon on Russian border, ready to invade with 600,000 men, and people either already dominated by him or jumping on the bandwagon. Just one quick example of a country jumping on the bandwagon is, of course, in 1812, the United States declares war on Britain and attempts to invade Canada while the British Navy and Army are tied up trying to blockade Europe, hang on to territory. The US in 1812 and 1813 will keep trying to invade Canada, which the British, with the help of Native Americans and Canadian militia, will barely hold off. Um, countries, other countries will join in on Napoleon's side to attack Russia, for example. So everybody's joining in. He's on top. Let's join in. Napoleon, though, like so many have before and since, underestimates the size of the country. The Russians basically retreat. They don't fight him much. And he gets to Moscow, but it's winter. And most of Russia is unconquered. The Russian army is intact. The Russian Tsar is still in charge of his army, and there's a big French army in the middle of Russia in winter. Not good. So he withdraws. He retreats from Russia, but it's too late. He started to retreat too late. And just think of what we went through in recent weeks, but much colder, much more snow, and for several months on end. Napoleon basically loses his army. He started with 600,000 men. He got back with less than 100,000. He lost his army, killed, frozen, starved, prisoners, they're gone. He's lost his army. Which means in 1813, many of the countries that he had defeated at least twice and dominated say, this is our chance. And once more, many countries in Europe begin to declare war on France and try to finish him off. Slowly he withdraws into France, and in 1814 he's basically, everybody's there. The Russians, the Prussians, the British, the Holy Roman Empire, they're all moving into France with against what's left of his army, and he's forced to surrender. And he's moved into exile into an island in the Mediterranean. You don't kill an emperor or king, remember, it's always a bad habit. Right? Kill someone's king and they'll kill your king. It's just a bad habit. So you put him in exile, put him on an island in the Mediterranean and say, you're retired. And the revolution's over. Which is very unpopular in France. They see their revolution as being crushed, which is what they've been fighting to defend for the last 25 years. And Napoleon recognizes that. They brought in a king, a relative of the previous king, and said, you are the new king. And he tries to rule as a constitutional monarch. The guy's smart enough not to be an absolute monarch now. But still, it's a king. They don't want a king. So in 1815, Napoleon comes back from exile. He lands in France, knowing that he's going to get the support of the people. He marches on Paris. He's only got him and a couple of hundred guys. And the king sends an army to arrest him. Here's Napoleon with a couple of hundred guys as escort and a big army of thousands of men. Go arrest him. Shoot him if you have to. But as soon as they encounter Napoleon, the army is like, it's the emperor! Vive l'empereur! And they're all on his side. The whole army. And when the king sends another army, that army joins Napoleon too. And the king's recognizes, oh dear, I've lost. Everybody wants Napoleon. So the king flees into exile. And Napoleon, in the summer of 1815, is back in power. But not for very long. He's in power for 100 days. Immediately, the British and the Prussians, who are the sort of closest to the scene, with the help of the Netherlands, they get their armies together. The three armies, British, the Dutch, were sort of combined, and the Prussians, throw their armies in. We've got to stop him fast before he becomes super powerful again. There's a big battle at Waterloo. which is in modern Belgium, between the British, Dutch, Prussians versus the French, and Napoleon is actually defeated. They were able to build their armies up, get to him before he could have this vast army back. And he's defeated quickly. This time he's put in exile again, but this time it's on an island in the South Atlantic. The island's called St. Helena. He's basically retired 5,000 miles from Europe. There's no other islands near St. Helena. It's between Africa and South America, in the middle of nowhere. He's going nowhere. And in fact, he will eventually die on that island. Quite an exile. But out of the way. At this point, Europeans realize we need to straighten things out. We can't, we'll put a king on France with a constitutional monarchy who will not undo too much of the revolution, so we won't have another one. And we need to get Europe back on track. That old Treaty of Westphalia of 1648 had failed, right? The idea of leave each other alone. And here were people trying to crush a revolution, and then Napoleon's exporting the revolution to them. And what happened to respecting everybody else's government and borders? So what we have here, and I'm moving to the last slide, is the heads of state from all over Europe meet at the Congress of Vienna and say, let's establish a long-lasting peace. It's going to last about 100 years, mostly. Not bad. Again, we're re-emphasizing the Treaty of Westphalia of 1648. Stop. Okay, you don't crush someone's revolution, and you don't export your revolution to someone else. Okay, it's a violation of the Treaty of Westphalia in both senses. So, recognizing, remembering, don't interfere with other countries. Part of the biggest problem, though, that had been going on since 1688 when Louis XIV started attacking his neighbors, 1688 when he started attacking his neighbors, is a lot of the problems, the borders, right? You claim that this territory belongs to your state, so you're not violating the Treaty of Westphalia, you're just taking your own territory back, and then you can keep invading people and say, this is France, no, this is Germany. So what they try and do is draw lines, draw borders, and say, these are the borders that everybody agrees are the borders of each country. I've got a map on my slide that shows here's where each country is. We agree on the borders, therefore there are no disputed territories, therefore no excuse for war. You agree to leave each other's religious denomination belief alone. You agree to let each country pick its own government. So you do not interfere with religion, government, borders, anything. Stop fighting. Okay, so we ensure stability, and the idea is if states destabilize, states attempt to start a war and violate these criteria, that the Congress of Vienna, the idea is the other countries of Europe will get together and stop them. So like modern UN. So the key here is the French have their revolution. It's been rolled back a little bit to a constitutional monarchy, but essentially they have their revolution. They've lost universal suffrage. They're back to property. But they've made huge gains. And by exporting the revolution, by defeating these other countries and saying, you do what we say, these other countries are beginning to develop more democratic institutions. Their middle class is saying, we're taking these national assemblies and parliaments and we're having a say. So the revolution is now starting to grow across Europe. Even though the Congress of Vienna is to secure stability, they can't stop within each country now. The middle class is saying, we've got these liberty and equality and we're hanging on to it. So the revolution has had a huge impact. Various levels of different countries, but it's there. Which should take us into the 19th century, which we'll do cover after break. The other big revolution will start it, though, with the Industrial Revolution, which we'll do after break. Otherwise, everybody have a good spring break.